Yes,
So I couldn't see. Okay, perfect.
yes. Right. Okay.
Okay, great.
I'm,
Thank you.
okay. I'm not going to be on camera because I look too bad.
Okay, got you.
All right.
We're live. Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Lee, Vice Chair of the DCHA Stabilization and Reform Board. I call this meeting to order. This is the regular monthly meeting of the District of Columbia Housing Authority, being held today, June 12, 2024. This meeting is being held via WebEx video conferencing, and the board is here in person. The time is 1:01 p.m. If you are not speaking, please ensure you place your devices on mute. Thank you. I would now like to ask for a moment of silence. Today's agenda is our regular agenda. We have invited members of the public to sign up to speak via our website, or those who would just like to view the meeting can do so live via the DCHA website linked to Facebook Live. Our virtual decorum statement. The Board of Commissioners welcomes constituent input on matters of public concern and offers you today an opportunity to express your views, including spirited debates of DCHA's decisions by its management and this board during the public testimony portion of every meeting. However, we require that members of the public who attend our meetings abide by certain rules of decorum to allow the board to complete the business before it. For this virtual meeting, DCHA asks that you remain muted until you are instructed to speak and that you do not use the chat to comment when it is not your time to speak. Members of the public cannot engage in any disruptive conduct or loud, threatening, or abusive language during the board meetings. This includes loud outbursts or shouting during times when you have not been invited to speak. Anyone who violates these rules will be removed from the virtual meeting immediately. Serious and repeated violations of the rules may result in you being barred from speaking at future board meetings for a period of at least 60 days. We appreciate your interest in the matters before us today and thank you in advance for abiding by these rules of conduct. At this time, I would like to ask for a roll call to determine a quorum.
Sure. Thank you, Vice Chair. Denise Blackson. Rosa Burbridge. Present. Leroy Clay.
Present.
Jim Dickerson.
Present.
Harris. Present. Katrina Jones.
Here.
Chris Murphy.
Present.
Jennifer Reed. Present. Raymond Skinner.
Here.
Thank you, Chair. And Vice Chair, Teresa Silla.
Yes.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Melissa Lee. Present. Perfect. You have a quorum.
I would like the commissioners to consider the minutes of the May 8th, 2024 board meeting. Are there any comments or changes? If not, I'd like to ask for a motion. Motion. Second. Second. All those in favor, yay? Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we'll have Director's report, added by Executive Director Pete Pettit.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Good afternoon. So we'll start with our programmatic activities, obviously. As you know, we meet every week to discuss our status in terms of utilization on both the voucher and the public housing side of the house. We're pleased to announce, and HUB was pleased to confirm that we're at 80%, 80.8% utilization for public housing. Then we started this journey, and in a year we're at 73%. So things are going to slow down a little bit now because we're getting into the more heavy units with a lot of problems, but we try to take care of the easy ones first. We fill the vacancies with people on the wait list. So we're excited about where we are. We're going to see probably a huge jump toward the end of July once we get those other units. Instead, take about 60 to 90 days to repair. But the fact that we're at 80% HUB, we're genuinely pleased with our progress. And Laura Davis, who's the field office rep, she acknowledged that to both Nicole and I, saying she did a lot of good work and did a good job of getting the utilization of some. On the voucher side, we're at 81% right now. I know we've had some cleanup to do on that side of the house, as you all well know. And I know that some will go out there meeting the John Marshak and the rest will between now and July. So we can sort of get that cleaned up and provide you with some information that going forward that you guys can, number one, trust and rely on as we move forward with our voucher utilization on both sides of the house, local as well as the federal side of the house. So we're excited about that. I talked to John earlier. He said he had met with several of you already. He's going to schedule the rest. He said conversations were going well. Based on the dive that I asked to do after our session, realized that we needed to provide you guys with better information. So thank you for your patience, and I think you guys are going to enjoy talking to John about the deep dive that he's doing that I asked him to do after that last meeting. So resident services is continuing to do a good job in terms of training with the EP program. So we're excited about that. There's going to be also a landlord event on June 28th. So we try to do those every 2 months now because obviously we need to make sure that we're engaging the landlords. I spent a lot of time at 702, our new offices down in Chinatown, just so I can get a vibe for what's going on and seeing people coming to the building. So the traffic's picking up. We take walk-ins all the time. I talked to several landlords when I was down in the building when they're coming in, just to greet them, number one, and to thank them for being on the program. So the fact that we're in Chinatown, I think, is making a difference now. I think people start to get acclimated. Anton's team is being trained. Some of us are being trained this week. And then there's another cohort that's being trained in July with regard to how he wants to restructure the department. So the actual new case assignments will start July 8th. We would have started on the 1st, but obviously that week of the 4th, a lot of people wanted to take off. So the 4th of the Thursday, the 5th of the Friday. So we agreed to so we're going to announce all of the new assignments, place them on the webpage with contact information so people can readily find their casework on the webpage, as well as announce their new assignments beginning on June 8th. So we're excited about that to get that sort of running so that way we can start servicing people a little better. So we're excited about that. Outside of that, obviously, we just have procurements. I won't belabor by reading through those particular items at all.
I don't need anything.
What I want to announce is, and I think we've tried it before, but we Washington Nationals want to partner with us, and they want to do an announcement between July with regard to a partnership. So obviously offering tickets to kids, but also working on some training programs for jobs going forward staging. So we're excited about that announcement. That should be coming relatively soon. So, with that, questions?
That's right. I have a question. First, I want to sort of talk about occupancy for a second. I mean, it's great to see us at above 8%. I think, we should be honest with ourselves. A lot of that is we're taking a lot of units offline, but that some we can denominator that helps. And I say this, I'm not saying this in a critical way because I know we are all frustrated that things don't move faster. But I guess, I think we, at one point, had talked about trying to get 100 families a month. If you look at even the pace of the units that are coming online, that's kind of going down in a bad way. We still got, I think year to date, we're net up for 5 months of the year. So rather than 500, we're at 165. So I guess I'm just curious to know what are your takeaways, or what should we take away from the fact that that looks to be not quite on track as much as we had hoped?
Because of the damage in the units. I mean, even though we walked the units, obviously, a lot of substantial damage to those units. And obviously, ideally, what would have happened if we brought on like 13 vendors initially on the emergency stuff, the just try to get us going. If I had the full 30 that we have now,
Right.
then we
Right.
probably could have made a bigger dent because we would have sent some of those contractors to take care of those units that take more time. And so if I had to take, my takeaway would have been, if I could have gotten 30 in the beginning, I think we'd be in a much better situation.
Yeah.
So ideally, the 13 we had to take care of the units that we could do relatively quickly.
And I was encouraged in the urgent needs chart that you've taken advantage in a good way of the flexibility we gave you around procurement, and that you guys are you're supplementing some of the contractors to get work. So I think that's terrific. I think it's the spend's up to like 5 million or something like that. So it's really encouraging. Okay, that's helpful. Vouchers, this is a familiar question or sort of concern for me, is that the number of vouchers that are issued but not under contract, that number keeps going up. And each month we say, well, we need to keep our eye on it. In February, we're at 493. It's gone steadily up. We're now at 728. And I know we're poised to issue more vouchers. So I guess, again, sort of what should we take away from that? I'm not suggesting it's our problem. I mean, what I'm thinking about is I'm worried about people walking around the city trying to find apartments and the landlords aren't renting. That's my biggest concern.
And that's my biggest fear too. And I think that we're running into some of that now. And that's why I'm excited about the fact that we're doing another landlord symposium on the 20th of June so that we can bring landlords in and run rent regulars on the front end. So because that's a part of it too. And then we're starting to do that now. But some of the landlords are pushing back, number one. And then it's just, we just need to bring more in and we need to find ways to do it. One of the suggestions that was mentioned to me was maybe looking to start sort of a landlord fund, because I've heard from landlords and they said, listen, people are tearing up our units. And so we don't want to be on the program anymore. And so maybe we start a fund, think about putting some funding together to decide to say, hey, listen, by the way, set up some criteria for you guys to apply for funding to get your unit fixed, but you got to keep your rent reasonable, right? And lower as a trade-off. So those type of things that we're trying to kick around now so we can bring more landlords to the table.
Okay, I guess my reaction, that's all sounds right to me. I think if we come back next month and it's still growing, I feel like we gotta go from yellow to red.
Yes.
Like it's just, because I think about all the vouchers that we want to issue.
Yes.
If there's we should
I agree.
be eyes wide open
Yes.
about what's happening out there. Yeah, okay. On vouchers too, on the wait list, I so appreciate that you guys are really making progress on the waiting list there, and I know it's really impressive. I do think, Rose, I'm channeling you. I think there's going to be, I don't know if you noticed, but like the response rate when we mail out 6,000 letters saying, are you interested in a voucher? It's a 17% response rate. And lots of cases that they don't like, because I know you always say, did you call them? Did you email them? Whatever. I think in a lot of these cases, they don't even have these are like 20-year-old records, and they mail and they pray, and they may not, if they don't hear back, there's not a lot that they can do. So I just want us to be aware that it seems like we're like I said, we mail out to 6,000 and that converts to about 360 people getting a voucher. So
Can I piggyback on, then also circle back to the project, to the public housing waitlist? Our response rate to the public housing waitlist was around a 20%. When you think about who ended up on our waitlist once we did the poll. The strategy for the poll was not killing via Nan McKay, the strategy that we're currently pursuing under the voucher waitlist. That strategy included a public service announcement, in-person engagements at MLK, and it's striking that there's a different response rate when we do a public service announcement, when we host public engagement sessions at MLK Library, that yields a 20% success rate, versus when we are mailing and that yields a 6% success rate. So I think that's really important to take into account and to think about as the next step for the voucher waitlist. Now, going back to just the project, the public housing waitlist, and I'm sorry, I'm always used to saying project-based versus tenant-based, and so that's why I keep saying project instead of public housing waitlist, okay? So with the public housing waitlist, when we are talking about how we are managing the public housing waitlist and offering units, it feels to me like we need to account for the fact that when people are declining, they are declining based on what is eligible and available right now, which might not meet their needs based on the locations that are coming online, based on the types of units that are coming online. Now, I know this puts you in a very difficult management situation, right? But it feels to me like there's some consideration there that needs to be made before we open up the wait list to really think about, are we adequately serving the clients that are currently on our wait list and that we are saying we've offered units? And I think I think it's like 3 unit options that are offered, and am I making that up?
So we're actually offering more. They've been offering 5, 6, and we do allow individuals to request a pause. So if it's something across town and they don't want to live that area, they can pause, and then when something comes available, then you can
So we continue to maintain
that way.
on the wait list.
Yes.
So I think in the past, we have talked about whether it's time to open the public housing wait list or not. I think especially given where we are in terms of turnovers and whether or not we're adequately accommodating the current wait list. It's part of the recovery plan. We need to give ourselves a year or two to adequately support the people that are in front of us before we open up the wait list. I'm having this conversation about that as well. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Actually, we have talked about it. Because if you look at the list, by the end of the year, we're not gonna have enough units to touch everybody on the list anyway. So that would mean that it would be unfair to open the list up when you still got people on the list who are still looking for units. So we have talked about it. Just
Okay. All right.
And just one correction. So when we were talking through the housing choice voucher wait list, so the response rate actually is close, because they said the public housing was 20. The response rate on HCV is actually 17%, as Chris said. The 6% is the actual.
And my apologies, I should have clarified. It's a 20% success rate on the public housing side. So my apologies. I'm comparing the 20% to the 6% because that is the literal success rate in terms of who's, once we did all of the polls, who's successfully staying on our wait list. We're looking at 20%.
And if I might add, when we talk about the mailing that Nan McKay is doing, do we do mailings also? We use a lot of outreach centers, Bread for the City, Sons, places of those nature, that these are places where people go daily that are homeless to get meals, to get clothing, to get resources. Have we partnership with them? Do we reach out to them? Do we also tell them, like the fair that we had at Martin Luther King's library, do we give them that information so that they can help the clients who, again, may be on the list, but does not have a solid address, an email, or a telephone number? Maybe that's something we should look into also.
Right now, still correct, right? So we can definitely look to advocates and other groups in the future to assist.
So I just got a text message that says, yes, we do, but we need to confirm that.
Yes.
Because I like the idea, and we should be using more outreach efforts. So, and we heard you loud and clear. We heard all you loud and clear this time. Just
I have a quick question. You mentioned the pause in regards to where you used to show just 3 units. When did that change? That it's allowing eligible residents to say, hey, I can't go in that area for whatever reason, and given the opportunity to choose different units another time.
And Nona's on. So since we've been here in November, that's been the practice. But it predates when we came, but I'm just thinking, so Nona, could you answer that, please?
Yes, good afternoon. So we have been working with families in reference to getting them leased. And so our policy stated 2 offers, but based on how many we were actually offering to families, we were providing additional offers. So instead of doing a 1-for-1 offer to increase lease up, we increased to 5 families per 1 unit. So we can't take, if a family was, did not, they saw the unit and they weren't able to lease that unit, then we didn't use that one against them, that offer against them. So we increased the number of offers to allow a number of families that were offered a unit for us to increase lease up.
So no, but she asked, when did it start?
And that started in February of 23.
Okay, so is that a policy change or is that just a caveat?
That's just a caveat.
Right, so because then when we say these things out loud, then some of our residents and people who are waiting think it's a guarantee. I don't have to get it, or I can wait and get another an apartment. And that's where a lot of confusion comes in. We say things and we have to be specific to why we're doing what we're doing in certain instances. So it's not for everyone. So it may not be for everyone, is what I'll say, depending on the circumstance.
Is that, is that, on the, there's a reason to do that, but there's also a reason not to do that, which is that it slows us down in terms of filling units. I mean, am I right that, because if you've got,
Why would it slow us down?
So,
go ahead, oh,
I'm sorry. So what ended up happening, because we have one wait list, right? So if I only have availability in Knox Hill, that's the only place that they would go is north, wherever Knox Hill is. If I only want to go southeast, where when we do have an opportunity to open up the wait list, it's site-based, then we are now targeting those families that actually are interested in those areas. So we challenged with families having that one centralized wait list that we had and who was accepting units. So that's why we increased the number of families that were actually being offered. If we did a 1-for-1, we wouldn't see the lease up numbers that we have now. But doing 5-to-1 allows us the opportunity to lease up. I'm accepting that unit. And then when the unit is ready, then we get an opportunity to lease it up much faster.
I mean, I guess that makes, I don't want to micromanage this because that's not my role. I just, we went from 83 a month, new families, new admissions a month in February to 34 in May. And going in the wrong direction. So I'm just pushing a little bit to try to understand why we're not filling units faster.
So that's actually based on unit availability.
So we have like 1,500 or so units that are vacant, but they're not ready for people. Yes, it's that high.
Correct.
These units are bad.
Yeah, so I think it might be helpful maybe for the next Committee on Operations and Administrative Services. That we make sure we're on the same page about what is being offered for families on the public housing voucher wait list. And also your anticipation of how long it'll take us to serve those families based on the turnaround that you're expecting. Given everything that you just told us, you're now tackling the hardest units. If we don't and I just want to state my concern, if we don't anticipate turning over units fast enough to satisfy clients the wait list this year, next year, do we what is our strategy? What is our goal? How are we, what are our options for next steps on this?
So just so you know, some of the units are already pre-leased as well, based on the bedroom size. So, and we've been talking with OCP about a lot of units coming online toward the end of July because of all. So the goal is to see a bump in July, beginning of August, where we've pre-leased and these units are starting to come online. Remember that, and then it will just flow again because we're working with the harder units and we have more vendors now. So hopefully, with that, the goal is that once we start bringing them back online toward the end of July and August, you're going to see that steady flow again because we've got more vendors now working on all these units that are more difficult to turn.
Okay, so I think it would be helpful to see what the numbers
Thank you.
are
Right.
on the units.
Gotcha.
What is difficult, what you're expecting to come online. What's even reasonable to expect amongst the difficult units? How quickly units will be turned based on the vendors that you have available? Just so we get a sense around when are we going to clear the public housing wait list and then plan for reopening the wait list based on that reasonable pace of going through the current project, the public housing wait list.
Any other commissioner comments or questions? Transition to resident testimony. The comment period permits residents and Housing Choice Voucher Program participants who have signed up to present to the board for 3 minutes and comments on the resolutions from all. If you have both general comments and comments on the resolution, you will have 3 minutes to complete your full testimony. Then we will move to the non-resident public testimony at the conclusion of resolution business. So we'll get started. First, I have Davida Atkinson. And if you're muted, you need to dial *6 to unmute yourself. I'll move on. Tamika McMore. Okay, I'll move forward. Rhonda Edwards Hines. Moving forward. Paulette Matthews. Miss Matthews, I see that you were on. Can you dial *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? Everybody else was ready, so I could have gotten ready. But anyway, since I'm here and I'm on the line, I really didn't have a real topic, but I want to discuss a few things. One of them is the fact that we all are aware that the director has got contractors out to make things go a little easier, faster, smoother, however, whatever the purpose or reason is. And I just have two concerns, not only with them, but outside of it all, with the DCHA workers as well. When things are being done throughout the properties, who follows up behind them? That's that piece of the puzzle that I think is a very important piece that's being left out of the equation. They had some air conditioned window units that you're supposed to put into the apartment units, which is all fine and good. They've been stored there for a minute, so now they're at use. But when the guys come to place them, they don't have the sense to actually break the boxes down. When we're having all this construction that's being done on these sites, there needs to be a flatbed truck or something that's going to take this stuff away, opposed to throw the dumpsters off. That was the worst thing I could have done, was move right where there's a dumpster. And so I was coming up the steps and kind of out of breath. So therefore, it's the thing of the rodents. It's already bad enough that our air conditioned units allows them to get water 24 hours a day. But then when we have to resort to putting the trash on the ground because of the construction that's going on and the people wanting to put the trash in the dumpsters because it's convenient. Outside of that, we'd have had 1,000 or more contractors come into our units to look and see what's going on with the units, but yet there's still a lot of problems going on with a lot of our units. And thank goodness there is more contractors on ground be able to try to fix that and how we're going to go about doing a lot of different things. But the most important one that I have right now, out of everything that I have, is that an overseer or someone should be expecting these people behind somebody. There needs to be checks and balances. Also, when work is being done, that there need to be a follow-up so they can see whether or not they did anything incorrectly or fix it, or if it needs some type of minor little tweak, something done to it, so that we can move on instead of constantly calling back to get certain things done. And that's it about right now. I would rather that y'all have us to have a meeting somewhere that doesn't restrict your time, because there's not enough time in these meetings to express everything that's going on, but y'all know y'all property and what y'all got going on. So hopefully we can all work this thing out and do some better things with it. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. Next, we have Carol Holly. Ms. Holly, are you on the line? I'll move forward. Next, we have Luanda Williams.
That would be Lulanda
Thank you, Luanda. You have 3 minutes.
Williams. Yes. My name is Lulanda Williams, and I reside on the Kelly Miller Lee Joint property. And I'm calling in to speak about the issues that I've spoke before about the maintenance issues and things that's not getting prepared and done in my home. Just last month, my ceiling in my son's room fell in, and the way that I was treated from DC Housing, whether it was the not getting back with phone calls, not being timely, you know, just timely communication with DCHA and in the situation that's going on. I'm still ongoing this process to where, like she said, there need to be people to come in on the property. If you got someone fixing something, come in and take a walk and look at the job and what they've done. Because the contractors that came in and fixed this ceiling, they fixed it so fast, I'm now seeing more water spots in the hallway now by the bedroom where the ceiling fell in at. I'm calling in about the concerns about the neglectfulness of housing, and I've heard you guys speak about housing issues and picking units and contractors and things of that coming in. Before y'all start filling up these apartments and putting people in these apartments, and y'all need to make sure that these apartments are well enough for people to go into, because rules are falling in on people's heads. Okay. Secondly, I've been on the housing choice voucher for 23 years. My son is now 23, and I just got my packet in February. And because of a certain situation when COVID happened and everything else, with people, rents and things of that nature is not in um, good standing, I can no longer move forward after being on the list for 23 years, but being in good standing. But the purpose of me being not on good standing is because, for one, non-management on my property, uh, it's a number of things. It's not just a one issue. It's a trickle down effect that comes from the top. And I've also made this known to Miss Heath, or whatever her name is. I'm sorry if I is saying your name wrong, but she came and walked in my home, my unit. She looked in my unit. This was like 2 years ago. The next time I spoke to her or saw anything from her was when my ceiling fell in last month. So they're not, housing is not on top of the things that they need to be on top of as far as the housing issues, placing people. If you can get all these contractors to come in and fix up these apartments so new people can move in, why is it that we're still having issues? I can't get window blinds, or I can't get these same contractors to come in when I'm having baggage sew up in my tub. And when my things are getting destroyed, I'm not getting reimbursed for it. But someone keep talking to me about rent and being in good standing. But DC Housing is not in good standing when it comes to work orders. Rodents, like she said, rodents. I've been promised, I've been here 10 years. I've been promised since the day I moved in 10 years ago that in the summertime, they're going to take up the radiators to fill the holes that these mice are behind. I've been here 10 years now. It has not been done.
Ms. Williams, thank you so much. Your time has expired. Someone will be back in contact with
The
Okie
time
dokie.
stop. That time.
you. Next, we have former Commissioner Ken Council.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My concerns are, I'm noticing that the board are beginning to get things done, but you all are getting ready to leave because you have 2 years. But my concerns are the unbalance of the board. You only have one voting resident that's there. And what I'm finding out now, why is the lead revisiting again? In 2018, after reviewing the paperwork that I had, that we gave HUD how we were supposed to cure the mold and the lead. And now it's coming back up again. There was a policy and procedure that was in place that you all probably are not.
Commissioner Council, are you with us? Commissioner Council, we cannot hear you, so I'm going to move on, but as soon as you are back online, I'll definitely come back to you so you can finish your statement. Next, we have Patricia Bishop.
Hello?
Oh, can you hear us? I'm sorry. Ms. Bishop, hold for 1 second.
Hello?
Can you hear us? I believe he's having technical difficulties. I'm going to move on to Ms. Bishop. Commissioner Council, we'll have someone reach out to you so I can call you back next. Pat Bishop?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I have big concerns about Greenleaf and questions and answers because light bulbs go off even after meetings and during meetings that we sit back and have. My first concern is to Bill first be put back on the table. We also would like to see the redevelopment operation agreement. We would also like to receive the soil testing that was tested at Greenleaf Properties, all three. We also would like to have the choice to pick a new developer. Due to the reason why is that when these developers was chosen, the main developer has left. Plus, there was an entire different Stern Board committee that they sat with. The way that these developers was chosen might not have been legal because of the previous president here at Greenleaf removing the paperwork out of the Envision Center, taking it to her apartment, calling me to ask me to be involved, which I did not, plus other reasons I will not discuss right now at this time. These are the definite reasons, and I would like to also just have Greenleaf removed off from the decision, which I really do hope that this decision will come forward to just temporarily remove us from this list. Because once we was promised Bill first and the main developer left, there has become a big problem of location and more units for Greenleaf families, not just for the head of household, but for anyone when it be redeveloped to also as an adult that was not an adult at the time become eligible to live on the property. These things are what we asked for in the beginning, and these things it looks like it's going to be changed one way or the other, but I'm here to represent all the best for each and every Greenleaf tenant on the property of Greenleaf and DC Housing. And I would like to wish all you fathers a happy Father's Day, and thank you. Look forward to meeting with y'all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have, I believe it is Kiavana Connerly, and please forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I'll move forward. Next, we have Sandra Banks. I'll move forward. Next, we have Karen Lundergan.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
And
Hi, okay. Good day, commissioners and executive staff there at the DC Housing Authority. My name is Karen Lundergan, and I am testifying here today as to being a victim of gross illegalities and ongoing retaliation by numerous employees there at the DC Housing Authority. I am also speaking today not just for myself, but for those voucher recipients that for whatever reason did not have a voice. I was wrongly sent a request for termination notice or RFT by Kalaya.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
we hear you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. In short, Ms. Payne had sorry. Okay. In short, Ms. Payne had no business sending me this RFP based on the appropriate HUD guidelines. Ms. Payne, Lori Bonds, Renisha Buford, and other staff there at DCHA has also engaged in further illegalities as well, and this goes against DCHA's own emergency plan they enacted in 2022. Both my attorneys and I have, for the last 3 years, have been attempting to get a full copy of my file, including any and all communications in the Housing Authority as it relates to me, unredacted, as well as copies of any and all communications between my landlord and the Housing Authority, also unredacted. We get sent only irrelevant documents as to my recertifications. We were even sent somebody else's name with their social security number as part of my file. I sent emails as to my valid concerns, though I was blatantly ignored. No surprise there. My life has been a nightmare for the last 3 years as a result of these cruel, unjust actions by these senior level employees. I also speak here today as I am somewhat hopeful with Executive Director Pettigrew in charge of DCHA now. He has been very candid as to the serious problems that exist within DCHA. He has also made changes within his executive staff that I am very thankful for. We are attempting to work out a meeting with me and Executive Director Pettigrew, though a date has not yet been finalized. I strongly urge the executive staff there to also review its policies, for one, around issuing requests for termination notices. Mine was issued without any sort of proper, objective, thorough investigation or any kind of reliable, objective evidence provided other than false 30-day notices provided by my landlord's unethical attorney, and he is well known for this, and emails from the former regional manager and manager at this property. I have spoken to numerous attorneys here in DC who represent voucher recipients as to these RFTs, who strongly agree with me that the DC Housing Authority issues these RFTs all the time, and very loosely so, and in most cases, they are not justified either. There is also a video that Ms. Buford provided to my attorney in which I am not doing anything wrong, and this is not even the whole video. Just now I had to reach out as I was not sent the meeting link as of 11:30 a.m. this morning by Barbara Oots, and Carla Hernandez had to send it to me. I want to make it really clear here, and I will continue to speak out and fiercely advocate against ongoing corruption and illegalities by employees there at the DC Housing Authority, and I will not stand or tolerate any further retaliation, discrimination, and threats of further terminations. Thank you for allowing me to have a voice today, commissioners, and I too wish those fathers there a happy upcoming Father's Day. Thank you. I look forward to hearing your response. Thank you.
We're going to move forward. Next, we have Tiana Barrow. Next, we have Keisha McDowell. Next, I have Donna Towns. Next, I have Wilhelmina Durant. Okay, I'll move forward. I'm going to go back to former Commissioner Ken Council. Are you back with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
All right. Good afternoon, all. My concerns are, I see that the lead issue and mold issue is coming back up. In 2018, we had a plan that we reported to HUD how we were supposed to fix that issue, and I see it's coming back up. I'm getting phone calls about the mold and lead, as well as bullet holes that are still in the residents' units that haven't been corrected yet. And the unbalance of the board. We have DCHE, but there's nobody on the board that represents the public housing people. And even as far as the committees, there's only one voting commissioner that represents the public housing. She can't do it all. And I've been gone maybe a year and a half, and I've seen almost 10 properties removed, but it hasn't come before the public's eye on how and when those properties were removed. You all quick wanting to do RAD, and you're sending out information trying to get housed public housing residents to take a voucher. Some of them don't. There's a commissioner that gets it. They would love to move, but they can't move for the simple fact of different beefs around the city. They have to make sure that they are in a safe environment than where they're moving from or moving to. The caveat of you all trying to say, are you going to give them 2, 3, 4 chances? They have to make sure they're secure in where they're moving from and where they're moving to. Can you all address those issues, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Council. We'll follow up with you. Next, we're going to move forward. Next we're going to move forward to our non-resident public testimony. I have Sarah Hernandez Santos. Moving forward, I have Daniel Del Caliego.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Del Pielago, and I want to ask a couple of questions. The website was down, so I was not able to see the agenda until Monday when I realized that there were so many Section 18 applications were going to be filed. I've spoken to some resident council presidents of the affected properties, and there doesn't seem to be a general understanding of what really will happen. So I'm concerned that this is kind of being dropped on folks. I understand that there have been meetings, but they've not done enough to address how it will affect people. I don't know if people understand that it will no longer be public housing, that they will lose the rights as public housing residents. Of course, they have other rights, but not as public housing residents, namely grievance rights, right of transfers. So I think residents should be made aware what they'll be losing, even though I'm sure this is going to be said to give people, a better chance at improving the property. So I'm really concerned about that. And also just in general, we've not seen the turnaround plan. We were under the understanding that a turnaround plan was coming. I saw it on the agenda for a meeting that the board had that was closed to the public. But the general public has not seen this, and it just, once again, doesn't do much to close the trust gap that continuously exists between the housing authority residents and the general public. So we're hoping to see the turnaround plan soon, and hopefully, that residents are more involved. I think this was all turned around pretty quick. I don't see any residents speaking on, especially from the affected properties, on how these Section 18 filings will affect them. So very concerned about that. And can I just, lastly, I want to mention that I understand that corralling all of us to testify is not an easy feat. You all do a great job in calling folks and seeing how they'll appear. But if folks miss that call, folks miss their chance to speak. I hope that there can be a better way. When we would do this in person, you would show up, and if you showed up before the meeting started, you could register to speak. I'm hoping that there is a better way, because folks are at work, folks are taking care of their children, doing other things at the doctor, and may not be able to take that registration call. So hopefully we can look at a better process for ensuring that public housing residents, voucher residents, are able to engage in this process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Sorry, I wanted to say something. Hello, I wanted to say something. You called my name, but I was on mute and I didn't know how to unmute the phone.
Just give me 1 second, okay? Let me go back. Yep, I can hear you. Let me go.
Okay, yes, my name is Sarah Hernandez.
Yep, I need you to pause for 1 second to you. I'm
Yes,
coming back.
ma'am.
Thank you. So let me go back. It's 2 other people that we need to actually hear from. That is Donna Towns.
Michelle Hamilton.
I'm coming back, Ms. Hamilton. If everyone could just hold for 1 second. We're communicating on this end as well. Donna Towns.
Okay.
If I didn't hear Ms. Towns, let me go to Wilhelmina Durant. She's on here. Just unmuted it.
Yes, yes, Wilhelmina Durant.
Mr. Rand,
I want, hello?
We can hear you. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yes, I wanted to know, and my concern is with public housing. Okay, when a person is receiving child support and the property managers know this, but then they're telling you one thing that, oh, child support is not an income. Then all of a sudden, when you can't pay them rent, they holler child support is an income. And not only that, then on my property, Greenleaf, I called the DOB builder because my manager, her hands were tied. And like she said, do what I had to do. I called them because the top of my balcony is caving in. And then when you come to the balcony and stuff on it, it's the stuff peeling up off the floor like it's getting weak. But when you start talking about stuff that's going on, such as mice, you catching 4 and 5 mice in your unit, you're catching black spiders in your unit, they don't want to hear that. But no sooner you express yourself, everybody want to say, oh, we want to take you to court. We're going to ask for the unit back. When, I mean, I'm not getting no understanding of this. So housing was here to help us to better ourselves and stay off the street, not bring us in there. And no sooner the apartments start acting up, y'all want to kick everybody to the street. That's not fair to us. So can I get a feedback from somebody in housing about that? Is child support an income or it isn't? Because basically, you can't make the father put nothing in. And if you go to court, the judge, the only thing the judge telling them is you can put $1 in, it's saying that you put something in. So, I mean, my question is, how are we going to work around that?
thank you, Mr.
Hello?
We'll be in contact with you. So let's go back to Rhonda Hamilton. I'm going to call Donna Towns again. Ms. Towns, are you having a hard time? It's *6 to unmute.
They'll probably all be in one room.
Next, I'm going to go.
Everybody.
Next, I'm going to go to Michelle Hamilton. Ms. Hamilton, are you online? Okay. Next, I'm going to go to Sarah Hernandez.
This is she. This is Sarah Hernandez. So good afternoon, everyone. Yes, my concern. Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. My concern is, so I applied for voucher and low income. So they had sent me a letter last year on March 2023 that my name came in the top of the list. And I was approved for a 3-bedroom apartment. So I waited. Then they sent me an offer letter this year on January. And that was Greenleaf. And then when I went and I checked the unit. After I checked the unit, nobody have no response to me. I keep calling Emika Brown, emailing. It was hard to get in contact. I had to put everybody on this email. Mr. Wayne, when I went to see the unit was ready to move. The lady told me, give me about 2-3 weeks and you should be moving in. I gave my deposit and everything. And this is the time that I try to get in contact with them and they telling me that unit is not available. I guess it didn't pass inspection, but ain't nobody inform me or anything, I was on the air. You know, I'm a mother of 3 boys. I'm a single mother. I work. I'm a teacher, but I can't afford it to pay all this rent out here. You know, I don't get no money from the government, no TANF and stuff, you know. And then when I try to fight and they try to send me to the worst place, like I have kids, I can't just go to this place that they shooting and stuff, you know. Then I find people trying to be picking on my kids because we are Spanish and stuff. It's a lot, you know. And then when you ask, you know, they want to send you to Woodland. Like Woodland is one of the worstest places because I don't live too far from Woodland, and I hear they shooting every single day. So all I ask them is, you know, a safe environment for my kids. I'm single. I don't have nobody or a cousin or auntie. I don't have no family in this country. You know, so it's been kind of hard. And when you try to get in contact with them, it's like, oh, we don't have nothing. And where they email me and told me that that unit is going to be ready maybe in 90 days or more. They don't have a expectation date. So at this point, what am I do? Like I'm so ready to move. Like I can't even afford. I live by check. So I want to know if anybody can, you know, respond that for me.
Yes, we'll have staff reach out to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move forward to Leonard Ward. Next, I'm going to move forward to William Jordan. Mr. Jordan, I see that you're on. *6 to unmute yourself.
Good
Did you call
afternoon.
Michelle Hamilton?
Right back to you. Mr. Jordan, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good afternoon. How's everyone? So
Yeah.
first, I wanted to reprimand the board for hide and seek with the agenda. I mean, it's still coming out a couple days before the meeting. So how can I participate if I don't know what's on the agenda until the last minute and can't do any research? So, you know, this has been an ongoing issue. So, I like to participate in an intelligent manner. Henson Ridge. So, I'm bringing up Henson Ridge because what happens here, I think, sets a precedent for what's going to happen at Park Morton and other places. So, we have a developer, Urban Atlantic. A couple years ago, people were complaining about their poor management of the site, poor safety around it, right? In October 22, the board passes a resolution. Now we're revisiting it again 20 months later. I looked at we have a new star board since then. We've had new development principles that you all put out last meeting. And the term sheet looks exactly the same. I mean, how can that be possible? How can we do all this new stuff and still come up with the exact same deal? It makes no sense. It's not possible to make changes and come back 2 years later with the exact same thing with the exact same flaws. There's still, as far as I could tell, nothing in the deal that speaks strongly to a strong resident council that they're going to participate. This is a pass-through flim-flam deal where they're using tax credits to put in appliances, which I've really never heard of. And then housing authority is going to take a piece, but the residents going to get a piece. Of course, the residents should have a piece, at least 5%, so they have a place at the table. So I think you need to pull this off the agenda and do it right, because I think it's still setting a poor precedent for how we're going to treat resident councils and resident participation. I read through the ACOP changes. Concern, I saw exceptions for Berry Farm in terms of resident return, but there were no exceptions in it for Park Morton, when we have a resolution 2219 with exceptions of how the priorities are going to work. I mean, how could you leave Park Morton out of it when you included Berry Farm? So, that's a problem. And then finally, in these projects, you all are still leaving out resident economic mobility. Even the mayor's reports say having new housing, but no method to improve your income, education, and all of those things. And we're doing $100 million projects, $60 million projects, and residents of those properties are not getting those jobs, those business opportunities, or anything, and that makes no sense. So, thank you for your time. Please get the agenda out. We really do want to help. We really do want to make it better, but we can't if we're being left out the process because we don't have a clue as to what's going on. That's not only for residents, but those of us who look up ourselves as supporting residents. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Next, we have, I'm going to call again, Michelle Hamilton. Miss Hamilton, if you're on the line, it's *6, so you can unmute yourself.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Oh my God.
Are you ready to provide your testimony?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michelle Hamilton. I'm an ex-Berry Farm resident. I live in a big city. It has been 6 turnovers. The new landlord just came last month. I'm living in horrible conditions. I asked somebody from the housing authority to come and talk to the residents, come and inspect my house. I have to look at the forecast rain to say, is it gonna rain today? If I can put something at the door, I'm in a wheelchair, put something at the door every time it rains. And this been going on ever since I've been there. And the roaches back. And it's just a mess. It's a dog doodle mess. And nobody from housing, Mr. McKinley, or nobody has called back or nothing when I went to Richard White office. And then I went to the housing commissioner office down there. I went down there to Chinatown to the office. Talked to this lady named Miss Shirley. She ain't answer her phone either. What is going on? Somebody need to come to the Bixby and worry about the residents that y'all plan to rent for. Because this is a mess. Y'all had my phone number, and I ain't changing, and I'm still living where y'all had. And I'm eligible for a 4-bedroom. They're not gonna give me that 4-bedroom till somebody from housing come there and talk to them and rearrange stuff. Hello?
Thank you, Miss Hamilton. We'll have to reach out to you.
Who? Did you ask somebody now? Because all of y'all sitting in there. Who?
A staff member will contact you.
Today?
Ms. Hamilton,
Okay, area code 202
I'll come.
749-337.
We walked it before, but we'll come back out, take a look at your unit, all right?
Who are you?
I'm Keith Pettigrew. I'm the executive director. I'll be out to see your unit.
Oh yeah, you trifling. You supposed to be came to my house. And you came unannounced and didn't never come back. Don't ask for no emails, don't ask for nothing, because everybody had emailed you. And I had got your real number.
Okay, we'll be back out again.
So what days you gonna come out?
We'll
Hello?
We'll get out to see you, all right?
Is this gonna be within 24 hours or the next business day that you come out?
Probably not. The earliest I could probably get to would be Monday based on what I have now already scheduled, okay? But I can send somebody out there tomorrow, a staff member as well. But I want to come see your unit too. But we did come by the last time you weren't there. But
you came unannounced. I ain't guaranteed for you coming unannounced. You
okay.
ain't even call. Even if you was at the door, you didn't even call.
Okay.
Well, if somebody gonna be there, I need to know what time they coming, because I'm not gonna stand there all day.
We'll have somebody reach out to you after the meeting about coming out, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Elizabeth Butterworth.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Butterworth. I'm an attorney at Legal Counsel for the Elderly. LCE defends, protects, and empowers District of Columbia residents ages 60 and over. In my work, I work closely with voucher holders, and I want to testify today about the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Specifically, I want to focus on DCHA's ongoing failure to perform its basic day-to-day customer service functions and the real impact on the lives of district residents. LCE sees this failure and the harm that it causes our clients over and over. LCE has testified about these failures repeatedly before the DC Council, including during the February 2024 performance oversight hearings. I want to highlight 3 specific areas where DCHA's failure to timely execute basic agency functions hurts voucher holders. First, lack of responsiveness from housing specialists and other housing program staff. My clients often reach out to LCE about issues that DCHA could and should resolve through timely, accurate response from DCHA staff. But DCHA staff respond to voucher holders sporadically, if at all, and when they do respond, they often provide confusing and incorrect information. When LCE reaches out, DCHA also often continues to respond slowly and inadequately, if at all. Second, failure to keep accurate records. DCHA loses important documents that voucher holders submit and then often requests that the voucher holder resubmit the same information again and again. Records management failures delay important processes like recertification of income or requests for transfer vouchers. My clients try to protect themselves from DCHA's mistakes by maintaining meticulous personal records, but it is also the agency's responsibility to maintain accurate records. Voucher holders shouldn't have to live in a state of constant anxiety and vigilance to avoid suffering the consequences of DCHA's mistakes. Third, delays at all stages of the transfer process that make it extremely difficult for voucher holders to actually use their voucher to move to housing of their choice. I have multiple clients whose housing does not meet their disability-related needs and who are facing excessive barriers to moving. Barriers include DCHA delays at every step of the transfer process, including the confusing and opaque system for making rent reasonable determinations. Under the current system, DCHA determines rent reasonableness only after the holder submits an RFTA package. It is nearly impossible for voucher holders, advocates like myself, or landlords to predict in advance whether rent for a particular unit will be reasonable per DCHA. And DCHA provides little to no meaningful support as voucher holders waste time and money submitting and resubmitting application after application and paying costly application fees. These ongoing administrative failures have a human cost, which I see every day in my work. Ongoing homelessness, lost opportunities to secure accessible housing, and anxiety caused by navigating opaque high-stakes processes with little support. The voucher holders are suffering the consequences of DCHA's failure to effectively manage the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and they are the best position to propose solutions. And with that, I want to echo the suggestion that Daniel Del Pielago made at the end of his testimony, which is that we hope the board works to make the process of testifying more accessible to residents so that more voucher holders can come and testify and share their experiences. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jennifer Thompson. Next, we have Geraldine Dyson.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can, Ms. Dyson, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Geraldine Dyson, and I am the POA for a voucher holder, Mr. Redfield. Excuse me. I'm working with Empower DC Legal Counsel for the Elderly and the BRED for the city to advocate for improvement of the voucher program. More specifically, I want to share my experience regarding the lack of communication on DCHA's end in all phases of the voucher process. I have been helping Mr. Redfield as his POA. Initially, it was trying to get him a transfer voucher, and that process just in trying to connect with a DCHA representative was never return calls. Once you sign up for the transfer briefing first, when you try to sign up for the transfer briefing, they do not offer how to do these things. So there is no real clear communication to someone like myself when I'm trying to navigate through this process. Again, one of the most important things was the portal not being accessible, and we not finding that out till after we submit documents with a landlord. I went back and forth for months with DCHA without any responses. So there is clearly, I'm hearing a whole lot, and you guys been hearing a whole lot, but there clearly is an issue with just even communicating what steps are needed in the process at every level of the process, and really make it. I get these one-liners of responses when I do get them, and they after not responding for months, you get these little short little statements, do this, do that. But it never is clear. No one never really talks to you. It's like these emails and they just go unnoticed. So it's, and then being denied. No one follows up to even say, hey, no one from DCHA. I have had the rental property, someone from there to call me and say, hey, you were denied. And this went on this has been a year now. So my uncle's voucher has expired a couple of times because of this delay. So I'm just kind of echoing Miss Butterworth. It has delayed, and he is very ill. But again, it seems to be no real care for these people, and there seems to be no real accountability from DCHA with regard to following through these processes. Because I'm hearing the stories, and it's, my gosh, it's like, really, is anyone working at this agency? So it's sad to me. It's very sad. But what I want to see, we're asking, as I've expressed a little bit of what's happening, and along with other voucher holders who testify today, we're asking for a meeting with the director, Pettigrew, to discuss these issues further. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Dyson. And for the person that I have, I want to go back to Donna Towns. I see that she's on. I just want to give her an opportunity to speak. Ms. Towns, did you want to provide your testimony today?
Hello?
Yes. Ms. Towns,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Hello?
You have 3 minutes.
Hello, how's everyone? Okay. How's everyone doing today?
Good, thank you.
Well, I'm good. Thanks for responding. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties in which I've been experienced today, but I'm happy to have been able to join the meeting and to testify. I just want to be very brief, and I just want to speak to the executive and say I'm looking forward to a follow-up meeting, and also I'm having difficulty with the housing management regarding receiving documentation, and that will better assist me with knowing all that had transpired to place me in the situation in which I'm in. And I've sent emails, but I'm not really getting I received documents, but I think there are more documents in which I need. So I've asked, and I'm hoping to receive them in the very near, as soon as possible, to give me the opportunity to review them, and I will be better able to speak in the future. And also, I would like to say I'm still Throckmorton resident, and I've had a lot of issues as far as maintenance within this unit, apartment 33, in which I'm in. And I tried diligently to set up appointments, to try to get things done in a good time frame. But for example, today, I've set up an appointment to get maintenance issues addressed today. And I've also have an appointment for tomorrow in which I've set up. But I'm very disappointed in today's appointment I've heard no knock on the door. I've heard nothing. And I'm sitting here and I set up the area in which the maintenance is going to work, but it's to no avail. I'm very disheartened that my efforts to try to make things better here where I'm at, where I live, better, but things are the way they are. This is off Morton. So my whole thing is I would like to have a follow-up to address the things in which I spoke upon in the future, and I look forward to hearing from someone soon. And and I say thank you, and I wish all the fathers as well as mothers, all the fathers a happy Mother's Day. I mean, a happy Father's Day. I apologize. So thank you. And again, I apologize for the technical issues in which I have endured today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Towns.
Chairman, that concludes our testimony.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the committee reports. Would you like to start with?
Sure. So just a quick update on the audit budget and finance. We are continuing to work through getting caught up on our audits. We have received a draft of the FY 22 audit that we are reviewing, and we will expect to receive the FY 23 audit in the next hopefully couple of weeks. As you all may have seen, we are going to request a special meeting of the board before the end of June because we do really need to get them over to HUD as the director and executive leadership have committed to. So we will be meeting as a committee later this month just to sort of review and discuss, and then we'll make a formal recommendation to the board. After that, we will get started on a regular cadence with our 24 and future audits. So a lot of work has gone into getting these audits ready by Heather and her team. And so I want to thank her and for all the work that they're doing. And we look forward to being caught up. And then when we get to July, we'll also be starting to engage on our next fiscal year budget. So when we come to the July board meeting, I'll have a little bit more to report out on what we recommend for a process and timeline on with the director. Questions?
On Capital Projects Committee, we spent our time this month talking about some of the resolutions that were to be read today. So specifically the Kenilworth 2 and 3 and the 6 projects that we're recommending for the Section 18 repositioning. So if it's okay with you, maybe we'll wait until we get to resolutions.
Commissioner Jones?
The committee met on the 31st of May and spent our time talking about the 2 resolutions that will be presented today.
And Commissioner Blackson, is she present today? Commissioner Blackson was trying to, Commissioner Blackson, are you online?
Commissioner Burbridge, on behalf of Commissioner Blackson, is there anything you'd like to share about Resident Services Committee?
For resident service, I apologize. I think that's a little bit under the weather. We have been just going out. We went to Arthur Capper to let know how things are going. We went to Greenleaf. They had a meeting. I did see the director there. So we are going out and engaging with residents to find out exactly what is going right. I'm proud to say at Arthur Cappers, we did not have one complaint. There were cheers of how great the management, which is new, is there. So that was a wonderful thing right there. Greenleaf is doing well. I believe Resident Services have a Father's Day initiative that's coming up. And of course, you will see us there in the place. And other than that, everything is well, which is good. No complaints here.
Very good. Okay, we'll transition to resolutions. And we'll start with resolution 24-18.
Nicole Whitworth, I'll present that. Resolution 2418 is authorization for Executive Director to request the use of a RAD Section 18 blend for the Henson Phase 1. Henson Ridge was a redevelopment project in several phases. This is strictly for phase one, Henson, phase one. It was, at tax credits and developed between 2002 and 2005. The property now is being re-syndicated, which means going for new tax credits, 4% bonds. Henson one is 125 total units. However, 68 of those units are ACC, which are public housing units, and the conversion is for the 68 units. So the RAD Section 18 blend allows the conversion from public housing. It's a subsidy swap, and some rehab will be done with the tax credits that are being re-syndicated. So again, this is authorizing the RAD Section 18 blend to convert the 68 ACC units in Henson Phase 1 from public housing to Section 8 project-based vouchers. Questions?
Nicole, maybe I just say a few words because we did talk about this in the committee. This is a project that may sound familiar to folks because we took it up last January. So if you go into your board books, you'll see that we talked about it. I think what we did one of the things we did last January was we supported applying for a RAD conversion. And I think what we're hearing from the team is that they've done further analysis and determined that the property will be in a stronger financial position if we, instead of go for a RAD conversion, we go for a RAD Section 18 blend. So it's not a wholesale change that we're being asked to support today. It's a sort of a tweak to something we've already done. And then, Nicole, do you want to just say a word about, I think, for the reason this is taking on some urgency, is it because we have bond cap space?
That's correct. So this is hopeful to close September 30th for the bond cap as well. So we are bringing it to the board because we have to go through the RAD closing timeline as well. In order for this to close on September 30th, we would have to get the RAD and Section 18 financing plans into HUD for approval.
So there's some urgency to this now. We have a window where we can get this done and make things better for our residents, and we're supporting this because we want to try to hit that window while it's still open. Sorry, Jenny.
What is at a high level, what is the difference between a RAD repositioning and a RAD Section 18 blend? And you alluded a little bit of why we're going this direction, but if you could just say a little bit more.
So it's all about the amount of construction cost. So we applied for the RAD, and after doing further due diligence, the construction cost either met or exceeded 60% of the total development cost in DC. And what that means, HUD added an augment to RADs, which is the Section 18 blend. And so what that does is allow you to have, in this instance, it's 40% of the units will be at the RAD rents, which are generally historically low. So for example, for another project we're doing, we receive about $800 in subsidy for a 1-bedroom. So we would get status quo on that, right, from HUD for the RAD units and the Section 18 units, which in this case, 60% of the 68 will receive that rent. It's about $1,500. So that difference in subsidy is huge. And this project also filled a gap because there was still a gap initially. By doing this augmentation, there's no longer a gap.
Can I add one thing to, so, I mean, and then, you know, the other thing I just want to add from the resident perspective is that they will have the same rights that they have under the RAD. They will pay the same rents that they would pay under, you know, under a RAD or that they would pay under public housing, which is roughly 30% of their income. So when Nicole talks about the rents being different, it's about how much subsidy we're paying. It's not about how much residents are paying. And again, those RAD rights, which loosely sort of apply public housing rights to the RAD units, even though they're officially now a different subsidy, those will also apply to all units, regardless of whether they're considered the Section 18 or the RAD units.
So just for thank you for that, for the, just for the public, I mean, I know the terms are typically 15 years, 20 years, but what are the underlying affordability requirements if we enter into something like
So for a RAD, you enter into a RAD use agreement. It actually stays on the property and you enter into a housing assistance payment contract. So there'll be a RAD HAP contract and a traditional for the Section 18 HAP contract, and the RAD regulations state that it runs in perpetuity. So you do a 20-year HAP contract and just continue. Okay, thank you.
My question, you partially answered it, Amy, but not entirely. I think one of the points of feedback that we continue hearing from the public comment section is whether or not the rights, as a result of these conversions are the same as the rights prior to conversions. And this isn't just about contributions to rent, but I think portability of vouchers or is a part of the equation as well. Can you just clarify what the change is going to be and how that impacts the residents?
Yeah, so currently public housing is under Section 9 and they have certain rights. Like I heard someone mention grievance rights, different rights. The swap, the operating subsidy swap to Section 8 project-based vouchers is helping out 24 CFR. So it's in the 24 CFR. 983. And there are informal hearings. You do have the rights of your 24 CFR project-based voucher rights under the Section 8.
Can I actually clarify that though? I mean, so one of the keystones of the RAD program is essentially taking those public housing grievance rights and extending them to RAD residents, right? So your right to grieve, your the contents of, I mean, the leases will look a little bit different, but there are certain rights that you essentially have under your public housing lease as a resident, and those basically continue once we convert to the RAD or we do a RAD Section 18 blend. In addition, there is no portability under public housing, right? And portability is the ability to sort of take your voucher and, move anywhere you want. And outside of DC, inside DC, is like, subject to program requirements. But there is a portability option with the RAD. I mean, this is sort of a new benefit. You have to, there's some limitations on it, but you have to reside in the unit for a certain period of time before you could exercise that right. But, at some point after the conversion, if you've been living there long enough, you can actually request a voucher and take that and leave. And the subsidy, and we still have a project-based unit at the site that someone new will come in and occupy, and then you take your voucher and go where you want.
So just confirming, we are not limiting residents' options and rights. We're actually expanding them.
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to get that out for the record.
And I just want some clarity, when we're expanding them, because we're gonna have new management offices, correct? New management is coming into this RAD Section 18, like here.
Or Ridge is currently
yes.
third-party manager.
Okay, so how does that affect their rights? Like if I'm living in public housing, I can go all the way up to the board, to the executive, to the commissioner. Will their grievances and things be limited? And will they be informed on how these changes will affect their everyday lives?
So yes, we do have meetings and we've had meetings with the residents. There will continue to have meetings because each of the residents will have to sign Section 8 leases. And really DCHA is still involved. It goes from the public housing side of the house to the voucher side of the house.
Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah. So, second.
All those in favor? Roll call. Yes. Not a problem.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Sella,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond Skinner,
Yes.
thank you, and Chairperson Lee.
Yes.
Resolution is passed. Okay. We will now hear Resolution 24-20 and 24-21.
I'll start on those. These are both resolutions. Well, the 24-20 is a resolution to modify our ACOP, our admissions and continued occupancy policy for public housing in a very limited way. The two modifications are basically to reinstate biennial recertifications for all public housing residents, which means that we recertify your income every other year instead of every year. And then it would also institute, the carve out would be for people on fixed incomes. They would essentially only recertify every third year. So triennial. The other piece is that when the ACOP was revised last year, it made some tweaks that didn't allow us to adhere to our promises to residents and to our developer partner with respect to the lease up of the Kenilworth Faircloth to Rad site, in that and so this would essentially reinstate what we need so that it can be leased up in accordance with our promises, namely only for the site. It would change the definition of elderly to persons to families in which the spouse, co-head, or head or head, co-head, or spouse is 55 or older, and they would also allow for preference for folks at that site. We have to publish them as whole new regulations just to adhere to the requirements we're being told we need to follow. But those are the only changes there. I will also state that we received 2 comments on this resolution as well as the administrative plan resolution I will address next. We reviewed them, we considered them. We did not make changes to the proposed regs as a result of those. But I will say that, I think some of the echo of the comments really deal with a broader revision to our ACOP and admin plan, which we have to do, which we are doing, and which is going to include a lot more engagement. So are there any questions? Sorry, I took your.
Can I just ask on that last point that you made, because that we also get comments and feedback. Has HUD provided the feedback yet on the ACOP, and sort of once they do, what is the broad plan? Because I know we had to move quick, but also these are a lot of changes.
Yeah. So we're trying to make as few changes as possible until we do the big revision. We're trying to only do what we think is necessary. But we have not received the HUD comments. Spoke to them about it as recently as this week. I did talk to them about engaging in some more discussions so we can start moving forward on that. We also have a number of comments that we received on the, original first emergency and proposed regulations from advocates, from others. We are honestly, we have a whole new administration here. So we are re-reviewing all of those and revisiting all of those because we want to engage in it's going to be slow, unfortunately, because, unfortunately, it's going to be slow, but the reason for that is that we want to really talk with residents, talk with advocates, talk with stakeholders, just really be thoughtful about what we're doing with the plan.
Can I chime in? Because this is a concern for the Committee on, is it Administrative Services and Operations?
Yeah.
Our name is so long. And we've talked about the importance of actually mapping what we think the timeline is going to be, and making sure that, because we are all hearing about the need to make some updates, making sure that we come up, that there's a strategic plan for doing that. And so it might make sense. I mean, I know there's a lot on the plate for our committee, but this might be something to prioritize for this month's meeting.
Okay, yeah, no, and I think so. Yes.
And just a quick question, the 55 plus is going to be the language for all properties, not a specific property, and that's going to go in place. So if you're 55 plus, you are considered a senior.
It's only for Kenilworth right now.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, that is something we have authority to do for the public housing portfolio. But again, we're really trying to we think that's a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I think gets discussed as part of the broader ACOP revision.
Okay, because it seems discriminatory. I understand if it's 55 plus, you should work on making it across the board, not just specific properties. But I understand for this meeting for that purpose, but I just wanted to throw that out. That's like age discrimination. If I live in Kenilworth, I'm a senior and I get those benefits. But if I live in Greenleaf, I don't get the same benefits. But that's not a conversation for now.
Well, just to be clear though, the only benefit is that there is a preference for admission to Kenilworth.
Just to
Kenilworth, so that if you're and it has to be co-head or spouse who's 55, right? You can have, the rest of your household can be 5-year-olds or, any age.
Is it Kenilworth?
Well, so Berry Farm is the admin plan. It's along, and so that's, I'm sorry, Asbury. Yes. So that's the next resolution, but we're doing the same thing there.
Sorry, one in each,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, and that was because to honor the commitments that were made prior.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why we're doing this now, because it's going, the good news is it's going to come online and start leasing up in the coming months. And so we're just trying to put it in place, Band-Aid, so we can do it for that. And then we engage in larger discussions, I think, about what do we want to be doing portfolio wide.
Comments or questions? To resolution 2421.
Yes. Not going to repeat what I said. The comments that I made with respect to 2420 are pretty much applicable here. Except for the fact that the revisions to the administrative plan, this is the one that governs our housing choice voucher program. This is really only to allow for that 55 plus definition and essentially preference for certain project-based voucher sites to honor those commitments as well. It will, the current thought is, it's really going to apply to the Asbury, which is the first phase of Berry Farm. And then it will also, Kenilworth is what we call a Faircloth to RAD site. It's leasing up as public housing, but will eventually convert to RAD. And so this change will allow us, the ACOP change will allow us to lease up with the elderly definition and preference. And then the admin plan change will allow us to continue leasing once it converts in accordance with those agreements. The Berry Farm Phase 1 is also a Faircloth to RAD site, but it's being leased up as it's going to convert to RAD before the lease up. So that's why we're only changing the admin plan for that one.
Questions or comments? May I ask for a motion for resolution 24-20 and 24-21?
Motion.
Sure. Commissioner Dickerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Sella,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Let me retract that. Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Skinner.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, Chairperson Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have 8
Yes, it's the resolutions.
And now we will hear resolutions 24-17, 24-22, 24-23, 24-24, 24-25, 24-26, and 24-27.
All right. So I'll start with 24-17, and then I will talk through 24-22 through 24-27. So 24-17 is for phases 2 and 3 of Kenilworth. For this, it's asking for authorization of a demolition and disposition application. If you recall, phase 1 is actually coming online. Phase 1 of Kenilworth.
For this summer.
Okay, it was very similar. That was a section 18 demo dispo application, and we have the units coming online. So we're now looking at phase 2 and 3 as the section 18 application for a subsidy swap. And with phase 2, also speaking of demolition, we talked previously, the phase 2, we have few individuals there, but the infrastructure in phase 2 is beyond repair, and this ask will allow us to hopefully move these individuals, if they choose, to the new Kenilworth phase 1, or they will have options to move to phase 2 or receive a voucher. So any questions, or Mr. Murphy, did you want to add anything on the Kenilworth 24-17?
Maybe the only, just a question. I know we talked at some point or at some length in committee about the requirements for consultation and sharing information with residents. And I know in time, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do phase 2 and phase 3. I just want to confirm for the record that we were able to confirm that we met the requirements for phase 3.
We did. We met with the residents virtually on Monday.
And in addition, the resident council.
And it was, yes, exactly.
No other questions on Kenilworth. I'll then pivot to the others. Okay. So resolutions 24, 22, 23, 24, 24, 25, 26, and 27. These are section 18 application operating subsidy swaps for Potomac, Greenleaf, Benning, Horizon, Langston, and Hopkins properties. Again, the operating subsidy swap, what we talked about previously, is an application that we do put into HUD. That's the first phase to put the application in. It is one of HUD's conversion tools, very similar to a RAD. But again, as I explained earlier, the section 18 option does allow for higher subsidy. And then the residents continue to pay their 30%. That happens. We're looking to get the applications, as I said, into HUD if we get authorization to submit. And again, it's an operating subsidy swap application. Right? Any questions? What did you want to add?
Yeah, I think this might be worth a little bit of narrative because and I think maybe from some of the comments, I think there may be some misunderstandings out there that it might be helpful to try to clear up. So first up, let me start with somebody sort of said, I think Mr. Jordan was asking sort of where the turnaround plan. I'm thinking that by that he's referring to the recovery plan. And I think there's a little bit of maybe misunderstanding on what the recovery plan is. The recovery plan is different from what I think he was anticipating, which is more of the kind of portfolio, a holistic portfolio review and making recommendations about which properties to prioritize redevelopment for and in what sequence based on a number of factors. And so I just want to confirm that folks understand that that is a different project that is still very much underway. So we don't have to, because that came up related to these grants in our committee conversation. What sort of just to sort of give folks some basic background. So I think many folks, including the commission knows or the board members know that we've hired D3G to do a review of the physical state of our properties. We asked them initially to prioritize, was it 12 or 13 properties, I think, because we knew that we thought it likely that they were going to probably meet the obsolescence test. Their initial review came back and identified these 6 properties as meeting the obsolescence test, which refers to, as we talked about this, the cost of renovation would exceed the cost of redevelopment. So so they're going to continue to do that work. D3G, it's hard to say fast, will continue its work, but this is kind of the first the first tranche, thank you, of properties that they've identified. If the commission approves today, if the board approves this today, what we're not doing is prioritizing and saying, these are our top 6 projects. We want to move on these the fastest. We're not doing that. That was something that we, at the committee level, had to kind of get our heads around. What we're doing here is getting these in front of HUD sooner rather than later. They, my understanding is, are going through their own transition of the system that they use to approve these. They fairly soon are going to close submissions and not reopen it for a while. And so we have an opportunity to get these ones in the system before they close it off, during which time they will process our requests and sort of respond yay or nay. We will continue to, once they reopen it, we will continue to submit new properties as they come forth from the report and if they're deemed obsolescent. That will feed into the process that the team is working on to develop a comprehensive portfolio redevelopment strategy. So I just want to clarify for folks, I know when we don't share that kind of granularity, sometimes people make assumptions that are fairly because they don't have information. So I just want to make sure that's out there.
And also to add, meetings with the residents were held, as well as speaking with resident councils on these properties as well.
Can if I can add, since you're asking for sort of a little more explanation, a couple of things. Number one, if HUD if the board approves submission of these and they are sent to HUD and HUD approves them, that just clears one hurdle for the development. These projects are going to undergo, once we figure out the priority for the various redevelopments, the agency and our developers, I mean, we're going to be going back to the residents. We're going to be going back to the communities. We're going to be talking about what the actual redevelopment plans are. This is just sort of ensuring that we've got HUD approval to use a certain kind of subsidy for the development. But the substance of what we're going to be doing at each of these sites are going to be the subject of future chats with board and with residents, other stakeholders, resident councils, and all of that. So I just want to emphasize that too. So not all, but if you approve this today, you're really just approving our submission to HUD of an application to change the subsidy. You're not approving
a redevelopment
plan, redevelopment strategy. Yeah, you're not approving any of that. The other thing I just want to note is that we received, and I think that's also responsive to one of the comments that we got about Greenleaf, and we had received an email from someone who's not provided public testimony, but sort of questioning whether the contents of these resolutions, these disposition resolutions were legal. And I have reviewed all of their points. And I think they may have some misconceptions about what the process is and what the legal requirements are, but I am very comfortable saying this, what we're doing here is, if you approve it, is from a legal perspective, is, will be a sound resolution.
Additional questions, comments?
I will ask for a motion for resolutions 24-17, 24-22, 24-23, 24-24, 24-25, 24-26, and 24-27.
You beat.
Second. Okay. Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Dickerson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Skinner,
Yes.
you, and Chairperson Lee.
Yes.
Resolutions approved.
Thank you, staff and fellow commissioners, for being agile today and getting through a very long agenda. So we will now transition to Commissioner Tom.
There were a series of, like community events added to our calendars for the summer. Could you talk a little bit about what those are and, what's happening?
Yeah, so, because we walk the properties and I've seen and gave the residents, basis. One of the things that I want to start doing is starting to rebuild our communities. I think the residents need to understand that we do care about them. There's a lot of work going on, we got a lot of work to do. But also, I think events like this help rebuild communities. And so we want to do these events. We're going to be partnering with a lot of different nonprofit organizations through all the whole spectrum from rehabilitation programs to healing programs, because there's been a lot of violence on these properties and these families need to heal. And so we decided to start titling Rebuilding Our Communities by having these events so people can come out and meet and greet each other and see us as well. And, you know, we're going to music, different tables set up for partners to share their literature. Services from the city will be there. As a matter of fact, I've also tried to order a dunk tank so they can dunk the ED. And bring money. So we're excited about that. I think you guys should have seen them. The 5 major events, 5 major properties, but we're going to be doing other events, especially the senior properties, on a lower scale. But we just want to get out and show people that we do care about them and we do think about them. And it's just sort of a way of trying to reconnect them and get them back out in the communities.
Okay.
So please show up. I mean, we've gotten T-shirts for them, so the properties get to pick their own color T-shirt. You know, with rebuilding our communities, residents first, that kind of stuff, just to sort of get us going a little bit again. You know, so.
Ready to go.
Very nice. Any other comments, questions for Commissioner's time?
I have some good comments. No problem, just comments.
Commissioner Burberry.
Sure. First, I want to give a shout out to DCH Pest Control. You have third parties, but the DCHA, they on it. I mean, they come out, they do assessments. I had one problem. The man actually got down on his knees and I was amazed because he filled it up. He did so well. And while I was still basking in the glory, I got a telephone call for a follow-up. They actually asked me what happened, was I pleased? So I think with some of these properties that have these major problems, maybe you need to send them out because they are outstanding. Also, want to give a shout out to you. I don't know why.
The last meeting you divorced me, remember that now, right?
No, they two together now. Going out, I've heard a lot of things in those events that you have. I have participated in them and went to them, and they're really good in the residents feel that engagement. And I think this is the most participation we have had in decades with people one-to-one and talking with them. And last but not least, I just want to thank y'all for tolerating me because sometimes, you know, like just now, it was about the commitment. It's those one words, it's the lack of communication. But and thank you, when Commissioner Jones said that's so they can fulfill the commitment of what was done, I'm saying, okay, yeah. So that's all for me, y'all. We're ready to go home.
I'd like to add one positive note on that. I do get comments from a lot of people, both on landlord side and ownership side, and also on the tenant, some of the tenant side. And every time I bring something up and I go to the persons or people that are responsible to I'm not just throwing something out there. There is a response. I may not always agree with the response, but there is a response and a caring. And I want to give the staff a big shout out for that. It's one thing to, complain or to have something and nobody gets back. It's another thing that be able to know you're going to get a response. You may not like it all the time, but you are going to get a response, very responsive. So I think that's a new, as we talk about trying to make this agency work better, that's a step in the right direction. We need to affirm those steps as we go along. We're not going to cure this with one fell swoop. It's going to take a lot of steps, a lot of individual things. So I want to give a thanks as well.
Is there any other business before the board? The next Board of Commissioners meeting will be held Wednesday, July 10th, 2024 at 1 p.m. via WebEx. Information regarding the viewing or participating in the meeting live can be found at www.dchousing.org. And all right, sure. We're adjourned. 5 p.m.